Hey guys, welcome to another video here on the Heroes Hearth YouTube. I'm excited to jump into the first and probably only hero reveal for 2020 in Heroes of the Storm. They have announced after several teasers that it is going to be Mei, the hero from Overwatch. I don't know anything about it yet, so this is going to be my first look at what Mei brings to the Nexus. And well, let's jump right into it.
Come on, Snowball. It's time to get started.
Mei Ling Zhao is a world-renowned climatologist who was forced to enter cryostasis when a massive ice storm struck her Antarctic research station. She awoke 9 years later as the only survivor of her team, ever optimistic and determined to fight for a better future. Mei became one of the first agents to answer the call and rejoin Overwatch. Having discovered the Nexus, Mei now battles to protect her friends from bullies of all species and origins. Mei is a hardy tank who deploys climate manipulation technology to slow and disrupt her opponents. Durable and mobile, with frigid crowd control abilities, Mei is as comfortable diving into the enemy's back line as she is protecting her own team. Mei's first ability, Snowblind, flings a snowball that damages, slows, and blinds all enemies in the impact area.
I hate bullies.
With Blizzard, Mei calls on her robotic companion Snowball to generate a fierce snowstorm that damages and slows enemies in a target area.
Great work, Snowball.
When Blizzard ends, enemies in the area of effect are stunned and take an additional burst of damage. Mei's icing ability coats her boots in frost, allowing her to skate across the battleground at high speed. When icing ends, frost explodes outward, knocking back, slowing, and damaging nearby enemies.
That's really good.
Mei's activatable trait, Cryofreeze, encases her in ice, restoring health, granting shields,
she can't move,
and making her unstoppable for the duration. Perfect for surviving any onslaught.
Cold as ice.
That's a bit weak.
First heroic ability, Avalanche, creates a massive snowball
Whoa,
that rumbles
looks
across
cool.
the battleground, consuming every enemy hero it touches.
Okay.
The ball explodes at the end of its path, dealing damage and stunning any heroes trapped
That seems way better than Falstad's Mighty Gust.
inside. Mei's second heroic ability, Ice Wall, raises a towering wall that blocks movement and traps any enemies unlucky enough to find themselves inside. After a short duration, the wall explodes, slowing all affected enemies.
Got you. Yay!
Bundle up, heroes. There's a polar storm entering the Nexus, and her name is Mei. Her combination of high mobility, crowd control skill shots, and blockbuster heroic abilities make her a breath of fresh Antarctic air. Mei might just be the coolest hero yet.
I really picked the right game to play. Same sense of humor. Here is a post on Blizzard Watch that says Mei skates into Heroes of the Storm to freeze out the competition. Finally, after weeks of intermittent snowstorms and a couple of very snowy teasers, we know who the next character is going to be and who is going to be joining the lineup in Heroes of the Storm. It's Mei and her adorable robot companion Snowball. So I actually don't know much about Mei since I haven't played her or Overwatch. So I didn't know she has a robot companion. And she's going to be the first hero to be added in almost 8 months. And it's also the first Overwatch hero to be added since Hanzo came in alongside Alexstrasza more than 2 years ago. She looks like she's going to be a fantastic cornerstone to any team looking to tell their opponents to chill out. Mei, adventuring climatologist. Strengths, crowd control, mobility, and survivability. Weaknesses, siege damage. All right. I was thinking in Warcraft 3 terms for a second. It's like, oh, siege damage? She can get hit by catapults extra hard. But actually, of course, siege damage. She doesn't do well with wave clear or kill towers, apparently. Burst damage. What role is Mei? While the teasers may have been obvious in hindsight, Mei's role is a big shock. I've heard people speculate she was going to be a warrior, so if that's the case, it would not be a shock to me. I was expecting her to be another ranged assassin, but she'll be causing havoc all over the Nexus as a tank. Mei has a big focus on putting out as much crowd control as possible with slows, blinds, knockbacks and stuns in her base kit. Looking at her abilities, she'll play like a ranged version of Johanna, only a lot colder and with a bigger emphasis on causing chaos from the edges of the fight, instead of going into the dead center of combat. Her trait is Cryofreeze. Mei encases herself in ice, gaining a rapidly decaying shield that absorbs up to 1104 damage. While active, this shield grants Unstoppable and restores up to 35% of her maximum health. So she encases herself in ice, and I'm assuming she can still move around during this time. That's a big absorption of damage, 1100. And she's unstoppable, so there you see where the parallel is drawn with Johanna as well. And it restores her health. So the talent that nowadays we don't often pick on Johanna, the healing talent, is part of her trait. So she has self-sustain on a 40-second cooldown. Very solid tank ability so far. And looking back at the, I believe, previous warrior/tank release, Blaze, this one looks like already more like a tank, because for Blaze they said it's going to be a main tank, but of course, as we know, that usually doesn't work because of the wind up and because it takes him 15 globes to even get the unstoppable effect. So probably they got it more right this time. Snowblind Q. Throw a snowball. Oh, I like that Nexus brawl a lot with the snowballs. Throw a snowball that hits all enemies in an area. Enemies hit take 70 damage, are slowed by 35%, and are blinded for 1.5 seconds. Costs 35 mana, cooldown 10 seconds. Very cheap ability on 35 mana. Doesn't look like that will lead to mana issues anytime soon. Only one charge. It sounds like you could have multiple snowballs in theory, normally, in lore-wise, but she only has the one. Decent damage, not too bad. More than blind for sure. More than Johanna's blind, I mean. The shield glare. Not bad. 35% slow is solid. And 1.5 seconds is a medium length. Blizzard. Makes sense, even if that already exists on Johanna, I suppose. Command Snowball to create a blizzard at the target location for 2 seconds. Enemies within the blizzard take 13 damage every quarter second. Okay, so that's 8 damage ticks, and they are slowed by 7%, stacking up to 35%. Enemies within its area take an additional 75 damage and are stunned for 1.25 seconds. An additional damage when the blizzard ends in its area. So that's after 2 seconds. That's a pretty significant delay on its damage, but luckily this isn't the majority of its damage. 8 times 13 means this is less than half of the total damage it can deal. 70 mana, 14 second cooldown. Icing. Slide quickly in the targeted direction. That's very important for a tank. When this effect ends, enemies near Mei are knocked back, take 52 damage, and are slowed by 80%. Wow, that's a lot of slow. A little bit reminiscent of Diva, but Diva's knockback does not slow. She might be better if it actually did. Still waiting for that Diva rework, by the way. It can be a Diva main again. Winky face! Rapidly decaying over 1.5 seconds. Costs 70 mana, cooldown 40 seconds. Avalanche, her first ult. After half a second, roll a massive snowball that consumes enemy heroes in its path. At the end of its path, the snowball crumbles, releasing the consumed heroes. That's a really funny ult. A little bit like Chen's barrel, but you consume them into it, like Devouring Maul from Zagara. Dealing a lot of damage, actually, 220, and stunning them for half a second. Stunning them for half a second, I guess, per hero consumed. So if you just hit all 5 of them, you will stun them for 2.5 seconds and deal damage to everyone, and they're all going to be in the same place. And you're going to win the fight, for sure. Ice Wall. After a 0.75 second delay, create an impassable wall that traps enemy heroes hit for 2.5 seconds. Okay, so you need to hit them and they can't pass. Similar to Devouring Maul then, but not similar to Tassadar's Force Wall. When the wall expires, trapped heroes are slowed by 75%, decaying over 3 seconds. Okay. Interestingly, her ultimate ability from Overwatch, Blizzard, has just become one of her regular abilities, while Ice Wall got promoted into one of her 2 ultimates. The writer is glad that it has a 90-second cooldown, since it's an unholy fusion of Tacitus Force Wall and pure icy pain. But Avalanche looks like the standout of her abilities. I can't wait to see the first clip where Mei rolls up the entire team and sends them into the no man's land around the base on the Towers of Doom map. I can see her becoming an absolute terror in Heroes just like she is in Overwatch. The combo potential between all of her abilities is outstanding. Landing her Snowblind leads into getting stunned by Blizzard, which leaves you unable to dodge the knockback on icing. And if all of that isn't enough to kill you, she can also roll you back away from your team with Avalanche, or keep them from reaching you with Ice Wall. I'm feeling cold and isolated just writing it right now. All of a sudden, any hero with talents that deal increased damage to heroes who are slowed or stunned are looking a lot more deadly, as well as any hero with hard to land skill shots. If Mei is bringing the snowy pain, it'll be a lot easier to keep targets in things like Mephisto's Lightning Nova or Falstad's Hinterland Blast. If you've got Mei staring you down from the enemy team, good luck. It looks like your best hope is to burst her down quickly, which is harder because of her Cryofreeze trait and icing ability if she needs to escape. But once both of these things are on cooldown, you'll have a much easier time of putting her back in cold storage. New anomaly. New anomaly, climate phenomena. The snowfall we saw in the teasers for Mei turns out to have just been the start of a much bigger storm of weird weather effects. Finally putting the storm in Heroes of the Storm. Climate phenomena in the next anomaly to hit the Nexus, and who better to study its effects than a climatologist like Mei? Maps will start having weather effects that actually affect your gameplay. What? Rain, fog, and snow will all occur during your matches to buff players for a few minutes at a time, and repeating throughout the duration of your game. But that is imbalanced! We don't care, there's no competition for it. No, there is competition. There's no HCC, which I think is great in the sense that they don't have to take themselves as seriously. This is exactly the kind of crazy stuff that I think is going to be so funny. The last 2 anomalies have created some interesting new dynamics to how matches play out, but both have needed some fine-tuning after they've come out. I really like how the XP globe changes have altered the early game and lead to some interesting laning changes and strategies. But I like the tower changes a little less. Having any structures swap to attack you while you're next to it sounded great in theory. In practice, it just made it feel more frustrating to play alongside map objectives. I'm cautiously optimistic that this new anomaly will change the game in good ways. I have to admit that even after playing for a while, personally, I still get blindsided sometimes by the forts suddenly attacking me. But I don't think it's a bad thing, because Defender's Advantage was a joke before, and now it's not. So I understand that the author here feels that it feels frustrating, and I think it should be frustrating to attack into someone's defenses. That's why they're called defenses. Pushing along with the map objective was way too chill, even for me. I'm cautiously optimistic that this new anomaly will change the game in good ways, but they've got a tough balancing act ahead of them to make sure that it doesn't supercharge players too much. I've been itching for another tank hero in the Nexus, and so far Mei looks extremely fun. Plus, as a Canadian, I'm a sucker for anything involving ice and snow. I'm still holding out hope that we get Syndragoza and Bale eventually, but I'm pretty happy with Mei. At least until I get rolled up in a giant snowball to be fed to an angry butcher. Yeah, and will we ever get Syndragoza or a Bale? Maybe. Thanks for watching.